everybody, it's Raina from Blue Cypress Books, and I want to welcome you all to Book Banter. Tonight, I will be talking with Byron Lane. He is the author of Big Gay Wedding. This is his new book that's coming out on May 30th. His first book, A Star is Born, right over here, you can see. I absolutely loved from the minute I just chapter 1. And as soon as I saw the arc for this come up, I was like, okay, well, I have to read that. And of course, devoured the whole thing and sent Byron a message and was like, would you want to come on Book Banter? Because really, I just want to talk to you. And that's like the best guest to have, the one that you just want to chat with. And speaking of that, if any of you have any questions at any point throughout the event, type them in the comments below and we will answer them in real time. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Byron onto Book Banter. Hi!
Hey, Raina, it's so exciting to see you. I have a huge smile on my face. The open is so beautiful. The jazz music. I miss New Orleans so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Okay. So my intro just turned into me gushing about how much I love your books and I can't wait to chat with you. But also, Byron is from here in New Orleans and now he lives out in California. And he's also a playwright and a screenwriter on top of these lovely books that we're going to talk about. So that's very exciting. I'm excited to be able to talk to you just kind of one-on-one. We did an event together for A Star is Born like a few years ago, and that was more of like a Zoom situation. And you were in conversation with Angela Hill, who's amazing.
Yeah. And this is my first live chat about Big Gay Wedding. And I'm so excited to be able to share some details about what it was like to write it and what it's about and all that good stuff. So this is a special day. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining me. Yeah, it's kind of like a warm-up event because it's kind of casual, but we get to, we can work out those kinks. Yeah. So we can start with you other than the title, as in case if you don't think this is about Big Gay Wedding, you've gone to the wrong place. Okay. Yeah. It totally is. But in addition to that, give us the rundown. What is this about?
Well, that's something that I'm kind of excited about, that the title is this Big Gay Wedding, but my hope is that readers find that it's about so much more. And the quick pitch is that it's a little bit like the movie Father of the Bride, except instead of the father of the bride, it's the mother of the groom. And the mother is a lady named Chrissy, and she runs a rescue ranch for misfit animals. And she's kind of conservative. And her son, Barnett, wants to get married. And he brings his partner to the farm, and he says, Mom, I want to get married on our family farm. And there's some resistance. And I think you meet a cast of great characters. There's Chrissy, and then there's her father-in-law, who's in a nursing home, but he watches Glee. So Papa is very progressive and often has some great advice. And then Barnett's partner, Ezra, is a little bit of a quirky New York guy who's into vibes and maybe a little new agey, but he's also kind of a wise kid. And I appreciate that about him. And so you've got this rich story, and you've got his family that's a little nutty. And so I try to bring it all together and create a nice little gumbo of good time.
Yeah, one thing I truly loved about this book is that everyone is real and they love each other. I mean, at the heart of everything. And as everyone comes together and everybody's got their flaws, which are there, we all see that, and their personalities that clash, but you can tell underneath every single bit of it, they all love each other or are learning to love each other. They're truly like warm, lovey people. And you're just trying to get to how is that all going to come together? Like, that's the piece where you're like, I know this is going to come together. I just don't know how.
Yes. It means a lot to me that you felt that. Sorry if you hear barking. That's my dog, Shirley.
I know.
But she doesn't like the mail carrier. I'm glad you felt that, because it's so important to me to, whenever I make art, the play or the web series, A Star is Born, and this, I really think it's so important to have the humor and the heart together, because I mean, that's what life feels like anyway. Life feels like it's ups and downs. And if you can't laugh at some of the crazy things that happen to us here on Earth, then what's the point? Right. So I'm glad that you got that sense from these characters and from this story.
Yeah, it definitely was. I think Papa is one of my favorites.
I keep hearing that, and I'm surprised, but I also love it. That's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, from the beginning when he's talking to the squirrels and feeding the squirrels, and he's named these squirrels that come up to his window or his door there at the retirement home. And I love this guy from this. Like, I know, and it's such a simple scene, but it tells me so much. He's got a sense of humor. Like, he does want to connect, right? He's connecting with these animals. Maybe he's a little lonely because he's got just these animals. Like, it tells me so much about him, and I just like I'm gonna like this guy.
Oh, I love that. Well, my grandparents, I had a papa, and I had a mama, and I had a nini, and I have a nanan. So I've got all the names. But my papa, he did live in a retirement center, and I remember visiting him there, and as out in Metairie. And then when my mama had to be put in a nursing home, I would visit her there. I was going to school at Loyola at the time, and I would just drive a few blocks away to go see Mama, and so I tried to capture the spirit of some of those places, and I think having lived in New Orleans, and my family's on the North Shore, so that's kind of where I imagine this all took place, in sort of a rural part of the North Shore, and I've met so many amazing people there, and so all of these characters, I tried to give them some spirit of the great people that I've met when I lived there, as teachers or servers at restaurants, and neighbors and friends and family, and so hopefully all of that comes through and creates this sort of authentic loveliness.
I love how Ezra's family is like, they couldn't be from New Orleans. Like, you could have picked up their chaos and just dropped it. Like they could have just driven an hour and a half away, but they don't. They come from a big city. They come from up north. They're from a totally different place. But I just kept thinking, well, they could just be from New Orleans. Like, that could have been a thing. It would have been too easy. That they couldn't actually live in New Orleans. He can't be from New Orleans. But,
you know what's so, I love that you say that, because I relate to that very much. Like, to me, there's the people who are from New Orleans and the New Orleans area, there is such a liveliness and a kindness to them, and in some cases a little quirkiness too. And Ezra's family definitely has that stuff. And I don't think of myself as a Southern guy. I don't think I have much of an accent. Every now and then someone will say, you said y'all. But when I had the audiobook for A Star Is Born, it was read by an actor, Noah Galvin, who many people might know from the TV show The Good Doctor or Broadway's Dear Evan Hansen. And when he did A Star Is Born, and he used he had to voice the characters of Dad, for example, who was from the South, and he gave him a kind of a Southern accent, and it was kind of surprising, because I just don't imagine that vibe there. But I think maybe you're a little bit like me, and that we're used to it, and but yeah, so Victoria, and that's Ezra's mom. She's from New York, and I just thought it was a nice way to shake it up. Mostly, I just loved the idea of a limousine pulling up to the ranch for misfit animals, and her stepping out with the air condition billowing out. It was fun to imagine that.
Yeah, no, that was perfect, because I didn't see that coming at all.
Cool.
Like, I knew she was gonna come in and obviously be a different type of person, a different force in this environment. But when you said it's a limo, it's like, okay, that's a totally different view.
Yeah.
And so that means she has a driver, and that means it means all of these things. Are like, all right, she's just about to walk out into a chaos she's not familiar with. Yep. I kind of love that.
Yeah, I went to Covington High, and when I had to go to prom, I had to, because I was gay, but in the closet, all of those things are tinted with a little bit of caution and stuff. But I went to prom, and invited people over to my house in Folsom, where I lived, for a dinner before prom, and a couple of the folks had a limo, and that was the first time I saw a limo in our driveway, and it was just so weird, and just all those little moments that I try to capture and put in the book.
So this book makes me want to ask 50 times, is this real? did this happen to you? Is
Oh,
that true? Which bits of this is true? Because I know enough about you to know that you have family that lives, Mandeville, Covington. They have land. I know that you,
yeah.
you had a big gay wedding. I know that you I know certain things, and I'm like, okay,
Right.
because similarly with the Star is Born, it makes you think
Mhm.
the same thing, right? This is a behind the scenes. That Star is Born is more of a behind the scenes, maybe this film industry that we don't know about, right? And how much of that is true. It makes me want to ask all those questions.
Yeah, sure. Well, ask anything you want. So, A Star is Born was inspired by my time with Carrie Fisher, and so it was also my first book.
Right.
So it definitely, I definitely tried to capture the spirit of real life in that book. With Big Gay Wedding, it's a little bit more removed from my experience, but I did try to capture the spirit of people I knew, or the spirit of the experience of being gay in a small town, and wanting to be yourself, but feeling like you don't want to create waves or disrupt things. And I think for some of my family members, uh, some parents, some siblings, some relatives, when one person in the family comes out, everyone else sort of has to have their own coming out experience too, coming out as supporting
Yeah.
their gay son or their gay daughter. And so I tried to take some of that angst that that existed in my world at the time, and bring it to this story.
One thing that works very well, you did an amazing job with, is when they go visit the high school. And this is tough. This book doesn't come out for 2 weeks. So Big Gay Wedding doesn't come out until May 30th. So we can't give anything away. Very few people have had the opportunity to read it. But there is a moment when they go back to visit the high school. And I thought that was so, that hurt in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a fun trip. And they both experienced that very differently. And then when they run into, was it, do they, I can't remember the
Oh,
name.
Clay.
They run into Clay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that is a moment. You have these moments in your life where you're like, what am I going to do? What am I going to say? I didn't prep for this. I was just going to avoid all these people while I was here. These people don't exist anymore, right? How do I get back in that? And I felt like you dealt with that really, really well, without trying to give things away in a way.
Sure.
I just wanted you to know.
Thank you. Well, it's a good moment to say pre-order from Blue Cypress Books. You guys have some signed copies.
I
And
do, and I'm going to put the link to that in the comments right now, so everybody can click on it. We do have signed book plates, so we will have that. Yes,
but
because you need to read this. Everyone needs to read the whole book, but this part, when you get there to them going back to the high school, it kind of brings a few pieces of the puzzle together, and I appreciate
Thank you. Well, my high school experiences there were, I remember them as tense. I'm not sure if my friends from high school, and sometimes I talk to my sister about this, and she doesn't remember it as tense, and so it might just be a sort of an emotional feeling that I held on to. But it was hard to be gay down there, and I had switched schools for junior and senior year I was at Covington High, but before that I was going to a smaller school in Franklinton. So Franklinton's much more rural, and the facilities were kind of like, they weren't in disrepair or anything like that, but they were almost like shacks, like metal siding, like the gym was I don't remember air condition. I hardly remember lights in there. And so it was kind of, and then even now, I when I'm back in the area visiting friends or family, I remember going to Winn-Dixie, and I saw a guy who I think I went to high school with, and it's like, does he recognize me? Am I recognizing him? Were we friends? Do I say hi? It's just like layers. And I don't think I'm alone in feeling those kind of complicated feelings, when we're young and we all just kind of want to fit in. And so hopefully those moments in the book ring true.
They definitely do. Have you had any reunions? Did they do any reunions that you either did or did not go back for?
I did.
Okay.
I've gone back for the one in Franklinton, and I don't know if there's been one yet for Covington, but I would go back. Like
Yeah.
I had a great experience at both schools, and it was so fun to see my friends. And we went to a restaurant in the quarter and kind of made a whole experience of it. And I brought my partner, and everyone was so supportive and loving, and it was a great experience.
I went back to a high school reunion. I guess it's been like 4 years ago now.
Uh-huh.
It was just before COVID. So, and it is interesting. Like you see people for the first time in 20 years. It was 20 years.
Wow.
And there were a couple of people that totally remembered me.
Oh, wow. Of course.
I got nothing.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
No, I mean, there were lots of people that I remember them. They remember me. That's great. But there was one person in particular and just knew me. And I was like, oh, and she called it though. She was gracious enough to say to me, she's like, you don't remember me, do you?
Wow.
I was like, I don't.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like, there's no reason. But then I get to come back. Like, we had a great time that evening. And I come back and I'm going through yearbooks. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I do know. But standing in front of her, I'm like, I got nothing. There's nothing coming to me.
Interesting.
It feels so like I felt bad about it, but she was like, "Don't worry about it." And we all had a great night together, and that was really. And now, like we're Facebook friends, and following each other on social media and all this stuff. And so it's almost like having a friendship that's new to me.
That makes sense to me.
It's actually like 24 years old.
Because we kind of are new people. I mean, how can we not be in all that time? Oh gosh, when I think about high school, like I thought of myself as grown up back then, but those are children. Those are kids. Oh my gosh.
My son is in 10th grade. That's not
okay.
Wow. I'm not okay.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You must embrace it. You must embrace it.
Know.
You're the cool mom, I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, definitely.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So did you did not have a farm wedding?
No, our wedding was a big gay wedding only in spirit. So it was in 2020, and I had just finished 2021. I had just finished chemo for testicular cancer, and so we were nervous about health stuff, and COVID was happening, so things were all shut down, and I had proposed to Stephen in the acknowledgments of A Star Is Born, and we had been talking about getting married for a long time, and we were super ready. And Stephen found a house here in Palm Springs, California. And a thing in Palm Springs is the mid-century modern vibe. And he found this house that hadn't been updated since the 60s. And so it still had all the cool stuff, all the cool shag carpet and walls made of rocks and shiny wallpaper and all those fun things. And so we rented that for an afternoon, and it was like 3 minutes of vows and then 3 hours of pictures. But we had such a good time, and it was just us, and our best friend Erin was our officiant. And so we kept it just really simple, really small, and really lovely. And we were able to quietly say all the things that we love about each other, and really make it kind of really personal. And that sort of inspired the story for Big Gay Wedding, because I thought to myself, when it was time to write a second book, I was like, what do I have going on? What are some things? And so the wedding was on my mind, but who wants to read about a little gay wedding? And I thought, well, what if there was a big gay wedding, and what if it was down south? And so then I started kicking around these ideas, and landed on the book.
And there you go. Well, I tell people when they're gonna get married, do not scrimp on the photographer. That is the thing I tell people, because the wedding is gonna last for a day, and the photos are the thing that is going to stay. That the dress isn't going to stay. The bouquet isn't going to stay. Like, you're going to try and save the slice of wedding cake. You're going to try and save all that. None of that is going to last more than a little while, right?
It's so true.
But that wedding album is going to just be there, and everyone's going to, in the beginning, everyone wants to look at it, and eventually it's just you looking at it. But if those pictures are bad, it's not good.
It's so true. And also, like, Steven and I really didn't want to spend a lot of money. Like, people these days, they go crazy on these wedding costs. And when I was putting the book together, I was chatting with my editor about that. And he was kind of like, well, what if one of them's rich? And we don't have to worry about the money part of it. And so that's a little bit of why Victoria and Winston have so much money. It's just easier to throw a big party without worrying about who's paying for it.
Yes. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Also, Nicole, what in the world? She just shows up. She just shows up. I mean, great, did an amazing job, pulled it off. But she just shows up. Her ideas are so grandiose, and they pulled off most of them. So
yeah, it's the spirit of it. So Nicole is Ezra's sister, and Ezra's twin sister, and she is. She's a sweet character. She doesn't have a lot of self-confidence, and she doesn't imagine she'll ever have a wedding of her own, and dating is a drag for her. And I certainly remember when dating was a drag for me, and I really don't wish that on anyone. In some cases, the dating scene can be such a hunger for someone / anyone, and that's a hard spot to be in. And I think Nicole is there a little bit, and so she's throwing this wedding, and she's kind of thinking about her own. And I'm happy that some good things happened for Nicole in the book, and I appreciate all her crazy ideas. They were so fun to write about.
She I believe you mentioned that she's sort of like floating around. I think Victoria gives her kind of a hard time for a minute, where she's like, doesn't have what career, what are you even doing?
Yes,
right?
yes.
And she just needs to party planning is where it's at. I don't know if she has the ability to stay on any kind of budget, but if she can get that skill, she'll be an amazing party planner.
She will be a success. Yes.
Just stick with that.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. I also appreciated the neighbor, and I thought that was awesome. So Linda, which I remember because that's my mom's name. So
cute.
And that I really loved how that turned out. That
good
neighbor relationship.
Yeah, I tried to. There's a neighbor. There's a priest, and I really wanted the story to feel full and rich, and and full of surprises. So lots of surprises with all. I try to give all the characters some kind of surprise, and and so Linda was one of those. Like, she was. It was fun to write. It was fun to write for Linda, and see her kind of, because sometimes I outline things, but sometimes there are surprises. And so Linda was definitely one who surprises not just for the reader, but for the writer as well.
Did she sneak up on you as a character or parts of her character? Like, did you know she was going to exist at all, or just?
No. So there's some stuff that happens with someone like out in the fields in the pasture, and so it's a little bit of a mystery of what's going on out there. And I wanted that to be a sort of red herring distraction, and then in that case I needed it to have like a real purpose, and so I used some of these characters to kind of level that out.
I appreciated that it went somewhere. Sometimes in books there'll be something similar, and then it just kind of like, okay, I guess that was the thing, in a way. And it's not, occasionally it does fit this story. Like, I understand why that decision is made, but I do appreciate that this, like, it went somewhere, wrapped up in a way that I like, okay, I get that. I get it all the pieces that we
Thank you.
can't
Thank
talk
you.
about.
Yeah. Well, I like to read books that are like that. And when I worked for Carrie, I got to watch how she worked, and that was part of her process too, is make everything count. And she was also a master at taking little bits of real life and coating them with color and imagination, so that everything came to life and was rich and full. And so those are the books I like to read and the books I like to write.
Yeah. Well, you're pretty good at it,
Oh, that means a lot. Thank you.
I wrote down a few lines,
Okay.
and I thought that I might tell you the lines.
Cool.
And
I would
then
love it. Yeah.
and then you can comment or not comment.
Okay.
But there might be ways to explain little bits of the story as well without like.
Sure.
So I didn't write down page numbers because I'm bad at this. But I did. Ezra says it, and he says the thoughts are an addiction. They justify themselves all day long. And it was I really loved those two lines, because if I remember correctly, he's talking about, you wake up in the morning and you decide what your day is going to be. Like you decide, okay, day, here we go. Right. These are the thought processes. And I hear the birds and I see the sunshine, and I'm going to fill with those thoughts, or you don't. And you start with some sort of worry or some sort of little thing, and those thoughts justify themselves.
Right.
All
yeah. So I try to include in, I wouldn't say I'm as like hocus pocus as Ezra, but a little. And I love the idea of, therapy has been amazing in my life. And I have some self-help people that I just love, and that help me when I'm anxious or depressed or need to focus. And so in A Star is Bored, a character brought some of those lessons to the story. And in A Star is Bored, it was this character, Therapista. And when the book came out, I ordered the ebook so that I could see what pages and passages people were highlighting. And I was so delighted that people were highlighting some of the things that she would say, because there are little bits of wisdom that I think that help me, and I hope maybe will help other people. And in Big Gay Wedding, Ezra is one of those characters who brings a sort of helpful 2 cents to the way we are as humans. And so one of the things that's helped me in my life when I have something come up is to examine my thoughts before that feeling. So suddenly I'm stressed. I'm like, okay, well, wait, what happened right before I was stressed? Like, what was the thought before? And so maybe before this interview, I was a little nervous. And I'm like, well, what am I thinking and believing? Am I thinking it's going to be a disaster? Am I thinking I'm going to make a fool of myself? And then I kind of start to question the thoughts. And so that's kind of what he's saying is thoughts just come, and then it's so easy to get carried away with them. And so I love that you flagged that.
Ezra's great too, because he's very realistic, but at the same time optimistic, and that's appreciated.
I mean, what other way is there to live? Like we do live in a world where people get a cold, where people get cancer, where we still have to, when I had my cancer situation and I was going through chemo, I would look around the chemo room, and there was this old lady in there who was knitting. And one day she came up to me and she had knitted me a cap, and she was just being sweet. And it's so hard to, it's easy to fall into chemo was terrible. But then I had that moment, and there were others too that were just beautiful. And so how can we not look for some good out there? How can life not be a little bit of both?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is a little bit about the priest. So
okay, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. St. Michael the Archangel Catholic Church smells like the candle clearance rack at Walmart. And I love that.
Yay!
Because you can smell it.
Yes.
And like, you're learning a lot about the priest and the church and this throughout the book. And that one line, I was like, okay, that's the line where you capture where we are here.
Oh, that makes me so happy. You know, I was just, churches really do have like this scent, don't they? And I thought, I do remember when I was kind of building what that church world looked like, that it'd be fun to stray a little bit from the usual. So instead of making it smell like incense, let's make it smell like the candle clearance rack, you know? And I think there's also a bit in there where the scents are listed, because I imagine people in, you know, sometimes I just am like, all right, what would this be? What would this be like in real life? And I can just see this priest being bombarded by people who are like, what is that smell today? And he's like, oh, it's crispy aspen snow from Target, you know? So, I'm glad you love that little detail.
Yeah. Well, and what's great about this bit too, is that it's a good thing. Like the fact that it smells like the clearance candle rack is actually a good thing, as described in the book.
Yes.
I kind of love that.
Thank you.
Okay, one other one. I have like 6, but we'll go.
Cool.
This is just 3 words, and it's beautiful. Gently estranged lover. I was like, what is so much? There's so much in those 3 words, and I loved it so much.
Oh, well, thank you. You know what? Writing is so weird. Sometimes my partner, Stephen Rowley, he's also right. He wrote the Guncle that's behind you, and Lily and the Octopus.
Never know which way to go.
What's that?
This is Lily and the Octopus.
I know. Oh, I know. It's so sweet.
It's so good. This Star is Born and Big Gay Wedding will be, but Star is Born and Lily and the Octopus are on my staff picks, and and Lily and the Octopus, I can't. You can almost not tell you anything about it. Like I can't, because it's from beginning to end, like so beautiful. And but everyone should read that too, and I'll put the link.
Yes. Well, this is the thing about living with a writer, being married to a writer. He was telling me the other day, you know, how weird it is to, well, number one, like, where do these words come from? So gently estranged lover, like, where does it just is so funny. And then you write it, and then you have to wait sometimes years for people to read it, and you wonder, like, I hope it lands. And so, Raina, it just warms my heart that landed for you. I love it.
It absolutely did. So when did you start working on this? How long did it take to get to here where we are now?
It took about a year. So in between A Star is Born, which came out in 2020, and now this one, I also wrote a whole nother one in between, and I'm just waiting for the right time for that one. My publisher wanted something a little bit more colorful, and so A Star is Born, A Big Gay Wedding kind of fit that a little better. So
did you go depressing? Was it too depressing?
I would say depressing, but it was a little darker. It was a little darker than A Star is Born and A Big Gay Wedding. And you know, I appreciate the notes that I got on that, and you know, it only just makes me a better writer. You know, people sometimes can feel down on having a work. It could be anything. It could be a birdhouse that you're building, but in my case, it could be a script or a manuscript, and people can get down on themselves for writing something that doesn't make it out into the world. But I think about like musicians, for example, and you know, they have to practice every day, and no one bats an eye at that. We all understand that, like, you have to play the piano before you can become good at it. And so I just look at other projects that I write that aren't quite ready to go out into the world as I'm just doing my work. I'm just doing my practice. I'm just putting in my 10,000 hours, that kind of thing.
Well, and the word yet is very important here. It's not out in the world yet.
Yes.
Right? It's not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Absolutely. So tell me then, I know that this is not out even yet. But what are you doing now? Because there is a process. You write the book, you send it off, there's edits and such, and then there's just time basically where you wait.
Yep.
And the book comes out. So in that time of waiting, what have you been doing?
Oh, it can be a little stressful, but well, first of all, I'm doing normal, boring things. Like I just picked up dog poop in the yard. The dogs both went to the vet today for checkups. So life is still happening, but I am writing. I'm writing, trying to figure out what my third book is going to be. So I've got ideas that I'm trying to flesh out and outline, and I'm talking to my editor and my agent about that. And I'd love for Big Gay Wedding to be a movie, so I'm trying to adapt that into a screenplay and a Star is Born.
It definitely has movie. It has movie vibes to it for sure.
Thank you. Cross your fingers. Cross your fingers.
Yeah. Oh, I will.
Cool,
All
cool.
the fingers.
Yes.
I will cross everything because I definitely see that. And then, of course, at the end, you get this big wedding, and it's so much is happening. There's things that I would love to see how they would do it.
Cool.
You know what I mean? Like how like I envision it in my head, but how would they actually put that on screen? So
right.
Big Gay Wedding the musical.
Brilliant. I love that. Thank you for that. Yeah.
That would be beautiful. So you're working.
I wish I knew how to write a musical, but how hard could it be?
You got to team up with somebody. You got to team up with a music person, right? You do the book. They do. Yeah. Yes. The music. Exactly. This is great.
I like it.
I love it. So what are you doing for Big Gay Wedding? Are you going out and about for Big Gay Wedding, or
yes, there's just
on a tour?
Just a little tour, mostly just to Southern California, and so sticking kind of close to home, and going to go to San Francisco. I'll be doing a big gay brunch at Rakestraw Bookstore in Danville, California. So I'm really excited about that. So it's a big gay wedding, a big gay book, and a modest gay tour. But it's manageable and lovely, and I can't wait to meet folks. I didn't get to do that at all with A Star is Born because of the pandemic. So this will be my first shot at it.
You would have already had that. I mean, that the date was already set by the time the pandemic happened, right? It was kind of like because I know it wasn't right when the pandemic started, but it was not too long afterwards. So it was kind of
just shut down enough. Yeah.
And the wheels are in motion. Like at that point, there were some books that were supposed to come out during the pandemic that got pushed because at that point they were like, okay, we know what's happening. We know what our options are. But those ones that came out in like the first 6 months or so, it was just like the wheels are turning. This is what we're doing now.
I know. I feel terrible for authors, at that time. And I feel like I did, I'm so proud of that book, and I think we did a great job getting it out there, and but it was a tough time. And also what was going on with the country, like it was so hard to get anyone's attention with the political scene and being so nasty. And but you know what? Now we've taken a big gay turn, and we're heading to Big Gay Wedding, and we're big gay optimists now, and so I'm excited about what's ahead.
Exactly. This is going to be awesome. All right, I have one last question.
Okay.
You and Stephen have a book coming out on the same day.
Same day. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm assuming that wasn't on purpose.
No.
Is that correct?
We had
because they're just right.
Yeah. So he has a completely different agent, different publisher, different editors, and it was just. But I think our styles are similar enough that they were like, this season, June is Pride Month, and so I think there was a lot of that went into it. But it does feel really special.
I was about to say, so is it more fun so far?
It feels really special. I don't feel I mean, gosh, it could so easily turn to war. It could so easily be war in this house. But this is his fourth book, and Guncle, and this is my second. So he's got more experience, and he's done big tours, and So I'm really grateful to sort of have someone that I can lean on and say, how does this work? And get good advice like that.
I think when you're on a team, which a marriage or in a family is a team.
Yes.
If one person is winning, we're all winning.
Oh,
and if
yes.
I do feel that way. I feel that way if you're in a job that you love. I feel the same way about that. So it doesn't, there's no need for the competition in that way, because if he's doing well, you're doing well. If you're doing well, he's doing well. And if you're doing well together, that's amazing. You're always doing well together, right? If someone is doing well, you're doing well. So
I love that.
Well, I want to thank you very much for joining me for Book
Raina,
Banter.
Thank you. I'm so glad that we had this experience, and I'm glad that we're good pals now and can stay in touch, and let's chat and gossip about books and what's hot and what's not. And I'm going to be sending people to Blue Cypress to get their signed copy of Big Gay Wedding.
Yes, absolutely. We will have them. We do have them. And and next time you're in town, you know where to come hang out for books.
Oh, I can't wait. I don't remember the video from last time, and your store is so charming. It's so lovely. I can't wait to be in there.
That's fun. Yay. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I can see you. Thank you for your comments about the musical. You got to file that away, Byron, and just try and make that happen.
Such a good idea.
Yeah. And thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
friend. All right, y'all.